This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show. This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show.
YouTube, what is up? I'm your homeboy Josh, back at you with a review of the DOGE version 3 by Congrevape. Yeah, this is the new authentic DOGE version 3 by Congrevape, sent on over free for the purposes of review by thecloudyvapor.com. So come on in here, let's take a look at this thing. Well, YouTube, today we're going to take a look at the new DOGE 3, the new authentic DOGE version 3 from Congrevape. The DOGE V3 features a number of improvements over the original DOGE V1 and DOGE V2. As you can see, looking at it, it's also taken a complete aesthetic overhaul as well. It looks completely different. With this version of the DOGE, Congrevape completely changed the aesthetic. It's a much more modern take on the DOGE RDA, if you ask me, in terms of its visual appeal. I also love all the colorways that it comes in, this of course being the blue one. You can also get it in pink, green, red, yellow. It comes in a number of different colors. One of the coolest things about the new DOGE has to be the ability to change out the center post. Not only can you build in the DOGE the way that you're used to in previous models with a tri-post, but now you've got the option where you can use a dual positive post. It's got a changeable center post, and it comes with the alternate, which is pretty awesome. I love that this thing comes with extras. I love that it comes with an alternate center post. And it's not an additional charge, it just comes in the package. I dig that, I really, really do. You get a number of extras with this RDA, in fact. You get extra posts, you get extra screws, extra O-rings. You get pretty much everything in both stainless steel and copper. The only thing that you do not get in stainless steel is the split positive post. Congrevape says that this is due to the expense of producing that split positive post in stainless steel. However, they do make it possible for you to buy the split positive post in stainless steel over at competitionscrews.com. In terms of the copper that's used in the DOGE V3, Congrevape did their research. They wanted to provide their users the safest copper possible, and this copper is indeed lead-free. It's no surprise that this drip tip does not get hot at all. It is ceramic, made not to heat up, not to burn your lips in any way whatsoever. And not only that, it is the result of 6 months of mechanical engineering and material science. They spent a lot of time developing just this drip tip, which is, it speaks for itself. And I think it was definitely worth their efforts. I will say that it's nice that they included such a great drip tip here. I still wish I had the opportunity to use my own drip tips. But one thing that's kind of cool though is it's part of their new CV system, their CV Congrevape tip system. And it's open source, so people will be able to make tips to fit this particular RDA. And I'm hoping I see a number of them coming down the line pretty soon. What the CV tip system proposes is basically moving the O-ring to the inside of the RDA. So instead of having the O-ring on the drip tip, moving the O-ring to the RDA itself to secure the drip tip in place. Actually a pretty interesting idea, because with that in mind, you'd be able to use a number of other more exotic materials for your drip tips. So they're innovating just in this drip tip alone. Pretty cool. And in theory, I love the idea of a ceramic drip tip that's not going to conduct heat. However, in execution, I'll say that there are some problems with this drip tip. This one actually broke in half when I went to take it out of the RDA. Moving on. It's got those same ginormous air holes that you expect to see in a DOGE RDA, but they've gone and they've removed a number of the inner walls to make airflow more efficient within the chamber. With the DOGE V3, they did away with the two-piece top cap. There's no longer a sleeve and a separate top cap piece to enclose the RDA. Now they've only got a single top cap design. It's all together here. And they did this for 2 reasons. One, they wanted to up the build space. In this model, they upped the build space from 17.6 millimeters to 20 millimeters. So it's going to make a huge difference there. Just those few millimeters can make a world of difference when you're trying to fit a particular build in your RDA. And the second reason they decided to make it a single piece design for the top cap was to improve the airflow within the chamber. No longer do you have the airflow having to pass across 2 walls, the outer wall and the inner airflow wall, to get to your coil. You have just the airflow coming straight to the coils. However, they were able to do this without sacrificing the ability to have adjustable airflow. You can still open up the air, close off the air, cinching the barrel off against the deck. And the deck itself, there are a number of sharp corners on this deck. There are some sloppy areas, particularly, I mean, if you look in this one at the peak insulators, the peak insulator is downright ragged. It's not very well made at all. There are a number of rough edges around here. There's a number of sharp corners. You can probably cut yourself on some of these sharp corners if you're not careful. I'd say in terms of machining quality, it's not great. It arrived dirty, very, very dirty. There was like black spots all over the copper posts. It had a lot of cleaning to do underneath the sink. For $47, I would personally expect the build quality to be a little bit better. I wasn't that impressed with the overall build quality here. So in terms of build quality, in terms of all that, it's not great. Not great in terms of the build quality, but you know, we're going to try and move past that. The juice well, if you look, is actually deceptively large. Looking at it at one angle, it doesn't appear to be more than a couple of millimeters. But then you turn it on an angle and you see this juice well is actually 9 millimeters deep. 9 millimeters. It's like an echo in here. To allow for that 9 millimeter juice well, they basically had to raise that positive post up as high as they possibly could. And it works very, very well in doing that, I really got to say. I love how discreet that 9 millimeter well is. It's a pleasant surprise. The DOGE V3, they decided to shrink down the post holes a little bit. One thing that I kind of wish about the DOGE V3 is that the post holes were just a little bit larger. In fact, I may end up drilling them out because I see a lot of potential in that build space. I feel like I could get a lot out of it if those post holes were just a little bit bigger. The post holes in the DOGE V3 are 2 millimeters in diameter on both the negative posts, which are milled into the deck, and on the positive, split positive post. They made the decision on 2 millimeter post holes to accommodate the most common builds out there, and to give the single positive post a 3 millimeter post to accommodate 2 separate strands. Why not just make them all 3 millimeters? I don't know. That would have been really nice. It works very well for the majority of builds, I'll say. Hey, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. You scared? You scared? You scared? You scared to be on camera? You scared to be on camera? My Doge. There's thing 1. Here comes thing 2. Come here, thing 2. Come here. Here's Millhouse and Mork. This is Mork. This is Millhouse. These are my Doges. They like the green screen. These are my babies. These are my Doges, my doggies. All right, Mills, get out of here. All right, go on. Where you going? What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on. All right, good boy. Go on. Where you going? All right. See you guys up there. We'll vape on it. We'll talk about it. So YouTube, that is the new DOGE V3 from Congrevape. I've got it sitting here on top of this TOL Vaping Technologies box from back in the day. Not sure if all of you will remember this, but those that do. All right, let's give her a rip. You know, I know it's a cloud chasing addy. I know it's a competition addy, okay? But with the right build and positioning the build the right way, you can still get some really decent flavor out of a competition RDA. This juice is the Munchies. I have a review coming up for this juice soon. And I've tried this juice in a bunch of other devices, but to be honest with you, it tastes the best out of this particular RDA. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I mean, it works okay and everything else. I just like it the best here. And what I've got in here is an Exo Alien coil, a dual Exo Alien coils setup, stitched Exo Alien coils. You saw it in the up close. And they're really flavorful builds. Basically, it is a microfused Clapton stitched through an alien of a 22 gauge. So I mean, it ohms out real low, about 0.12 ohms. So it's the perfect build for like a parallel box mod. It really, really is the perfect build for a parallel box. And it's just an excellent vape. It's got great flavor, great clouds. I mean, when I vape this thing, I close it off quite a bit. It's black on black, so you're not going to see the openings, the air holes too well, but if you look, you can see the metal there that's showing, the stainless steel that's coming through, and basically that's how closed off I have this thing. These air holes are ginormous. Like any other DOGE RDA, the air holes are ginormous on this thing. But I've got them about halfway closed. That's how I really like this. I like to close it off about halfway. I like to push my coils down so they're right on top of the airflow. The way the deck is constructed, it wants to force you to bring those coils really up high over the airflow intake, but I like to push them down. I like my coils right on the airflow with my RDAs, and that's how I build this too. I push those coils down so they're right on top of the airflow. The air comes in direct contact with the coil, and I just get a great vape that way. Now, I had it the other way too, where the coils were above the airflow, and it works like sort of like a bottom airflow eddy. It sort of comes at the coil from underneath. It's not bad. I just like it better this way. I'll say that despite the air holes being so damn big, I get almost no leaking out of this RDA, unless I just turn it on its side. Yeah, I mean, then it'll leak, but as long as it's kept upright, it doesn't leak on me. I don't have any issues with it. I love the aesthetic of it. I think it looks super modern. The Doge letters on one side and the Doge dog in blue on the other. I love the whole look of it. The drip tip is fantastic. Fantastic. I can't get enough of the fucking drip tip. There's no heat to it. Nothing. I mean, basically, this vape is like 130 watts. No heat. You see how long I can pull that for? I stopped pulling because I couldn't pull anymore. My lungs were filled. I mean, this drip tip doesn't heat up. There's not a hint of heat on it. It's fantastic. Now, like I said in the up close, there are some construction issues with the drip tip. Now, I can take this drip tip off, no problem. With the original drip tip I had, I don't know what the deal was with it, but it broke in half the first time I tried to take that thing out. But this one's given me no problem whatsoever. That first one, I just pulled it out, broke in half. That's it. I spent like an hour getting the bottom portion, the connector portion of the drip tip out of the RDA. It was ridiculous. And then I emailed Brett at the Cloudy Vapor, and he said he'd send me over a new one right away, and he did. So he's awesome. I love working with him. He's badass. But I have no idea how that happened with that first drip tip. I'm one of those unlucky people that if there's one faulty unit, I'm going to get it. I'm always going to get that one faulty unit. So better me than you, right? Right. It's a delicious vape. It really is. I mean, the flavor I get off this build is phenomenal. Phenomenal flavor on this build. And with certain builds, if you ask me, they benefit from more airflow rather than less airflow. And this is one of those kinds of builds. It's the right RDA for it. It really is. Overall, I really like the DOGE V3. I do. I do have some qualms with the build quality. I wish that the peak insulators were a little bit cleaner. I wish that, some of the edges around the deck weren't quite so sharp. Like these walls on the deck, they're just sharp. They really are. I wish they were softened a bit more. I wish that they went with 3mm post holes all around, not just on the single center post. I have some qualms with it, but overall, I really do like it. I've been using it on a daily basis. I really enjoy this RDA. I'll be honest with you, I do. I'm surprised at how much I like it because I didn't care for the original Doge all that much. I had a clone, but, you know, this is an excellent, excellent RDA for the most part, It's got a good price. $47 at thecloudyvapor.com is more than fair if you ask me. Again, I wish that build quality was a little bit better considering, but the price is still pretty good for an authentic RDA. It really is. It really is. I'll tell you that I actually like it better in the tri-post configuration than the quad post configuration. I don't know why. I think it's because I mean, I get better flavor that way is why. But I think the reason is that quad post really cuts down on the airflow within the RDA itself. Once that quad post goes in, there's less open space here. I mean, the part of what makes the Doge what it is in previous versions has been, you know, this tri-post design. And it allows air to travel within the chamber a lot better with a tri-post. Especially with the tri-post like this. You see how, you know, these posts, there's so much space between them? It allows the air to travel around inside this chamber just so much better than this wall of a quad post in there. That dual split positive post in the middle, you know, just acts as a wall, just cuts down that airflow within the chamber. But the tri-post in here, it's fantastic. That's what sort of makes the Doge what it is, if you ask me. Just the huge tri-post design. It's not just like any other tri-post. There's a lot of space with this tri-post, a lot more space than a lot of other tri-posts. And I feel like that's what makes the Doge so special, honestly. Just how the air travels within the chamber when it has that tri-post installed. And that's my preferred configuration on the Doge V3, that tri-post configuration. I will say that. Anyway, that's the Doge V3. I'm your homeboy Josh. And until next time, vape on, vapors.